I think it was back in 1963, Marvel, the Tales of Suspense number 39, when Tony Stark and Iron Man made his debut. And for a long time now, especially since the mid-90s, a lot of people have been trying to make it. Tom Cruise, Nicolas Cage, Nick Cassavetes, and for you, I don't know whether...
We pronounce it Cassavetes in the States, but
the way we pronounce it is probably the right way. I think they got mucked up. It just got lost in translation. But that notion of taking on such a beloved project and knowing that Marvel are going out on their own for this one, I don't know whether you were easily able to sleep or whether you just went for it.
I sleep like a baby when it comes to that stuff because it's not my money. But it is my career. So the thing that I lost sleep over was if we made this film and it was a piece of crap, if it made money, they would be successful, but it could really bruise my ego. And I think ultimately, I think it ends up hurting a filmmaker's career if they make movies that aren't good, even if they're successful at the box office. I've been spoiled in the past in that the movies that I've made have always been well received, although some of them, like the last ones, are bombed pretty hard. So the idea of making a movie, as I was talking to Robert, I said, what do you want to do with your career? And he's like, I'd like to make good movies that people actually get to see. And that becomes compelling after a while. So the pressure wasn't so much to make a movie that stood up to the genre, because the genre honestly has a lot of bad movies in it. There's a lot of bad superhero movies rattling around out there, and only a handful of good ones. The challenge to us was to make a good movie that wasn't just a retread of some other superhero film. And by casting Robert, I think that was half my job was done.
Well, he is fantastic, and there is that sort of same way that Johnny Depp completely transforms your perception of something like Pirates of the Caribbean. As much as everything kind of works in this movie, having Robert in the middle of it just really makes that sort of extra edge. He was in the office beside you in pre-production. I'm guessing he was very much involved all the way then once you two kind of were together. It's
an interesting rhythm of collaboration because you come on board. He comes on board. There's a honeymoon. There's no script, right? People don't know that about superhero movies. There's no script to them until you're just about to shoot. It just sort of comes together. They generally, with especially the bigger budget ones, even bigger than this was a first one of hopefully a franchise. But once you get into 2s and 3s and they're making money, they start throwing writers at it. It changes. You get desperate and scared, and the script changes. And it's not till you're on the set, honestly, that it all comes together. Fortunately, my background's improvisation. I'm a writer. He's a writer. He's an improviser. So we were able to see eye to eye creatively on a lot of stuff. But most of that creative process occurred actually on the day we were shooting, in the trailer, on the set, between takes, staying late, talking about the next day's work, pulling Gwyneth in. And so there was very much a sense of a collaborative think tank. He was busy training beforehand. He was working on his muscles because he knew he had to be hammering that mask, and he wanted to look good. And this is the first time he was asked to be sort of a lead that should be romantically appealing. He's usually the character actor, the sidekick, the friend, Charlie Chaplin. This is a very big jump for him. So he was training a lot. He does kung fu pretty adamantly too, and so he was getting ready for the role while I was getting ready for the movie.
I know your buzzword or your kind of battle cry was plausibility. That was the sort of word that you wanted to make sure that this was kind of felt plausible. But I don't know if that was kind of tough because you are obviously dealing in superhero world. You're dealing with a guy in an iron suit who can fly like a rocket. And
well, the idea of plausibility was sort of where we landed because, and I actually had a sign over my door. So anytime somebody walked into my office, it was there, just as a reminder that it doesn't have to be real, it doesn't have to be realistic, it just has to be plausible. You have to adhere to the rules that you lay out. And some of that means don't break. If you set something up, don't change the game on it. Just because it's a superhero movie and you could do anything in theory doesn't mean you can. You shouldn't give yourself that permission. It's bad storytelling. And then when it came to the special effects, I've always been a real skeptic about CGI. So I always wanted everything to look real and operate as though it was real and everything to make sense. Because I feel that if the CGI or the effects are too over the top and too crazy, you lose your emotional connection to the lead. And I always felt that the strongest suit of this was Robert and his portrayal of Tony Stark and the transition of that character. And I didn't want it to feel like, here's the Robert Downey Jr. movie, and now cut away to, Power Rangers. You cut away to the suit, and it's a different movie. You wanted it to feel integrated and connected and let the effects and serve the story and the emotion.
I know that when you look somewhere like IMDb and a lot of the early stories, an awful lot of other characters were kind of mentioned, and Samuel Jackson doing Nick Fury, and Hilary Swank was in there, and I don't know whether these were all things that were shot and it was just decided, well, they're now unfortunately DVD, they're no longer in the movie, or
there's a lot of misinformation out there. Is one of the things.
Some of it's your fault, I would imagine.
There's a lot of no, I didn't put anything on IMDb.
Oh, okay.
I didn't list anything.
Right.
But I tried to stop things. IMDb is a tough one because it's sort of like Wikipedia. It just sort of grows on its own. I had my own MySpace site. I still do, where I would answer people's questions. But I wouldn't answer all the questions about the rumors because I wanted there to be some surprises. So some of those people were in the movie, some weren't. You got to play a little bit of a game of cat and mouse with the fans. There are certain things I showed them, like the suit, sequences, casting of the leads. But there still had to be some surprises. I debuted a lot of the footage at Comic-Con a year ago. I didn't want it to peak and people to know everything about the movie between the spies and the stuff we released too early. Otherwise, why see the film? So when it came to those sort of supporting cameo type things, I left it up in the air. And I never want the audience to know too much. I always want to have some tricks up my sleeve so that, for the good of the audience, that there are some surprises left. And so, hopefully there still will be some surprises left as people go see the movie.
Rock and roll. Beautiful movie.
Cheers,
Thank you,
man.
sir. Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers.